Hey, visionaries! You are now tuned in to the Starts with a Vision podcast, where everything you do in life starts with a vision. If your vision is clear or foggy, you are in the right place. It's time to go take what's yours, because there's a vision only you can see, and a dream only you can dream. And now, your host, Mr. Starts with a Vision.
What's going on, everybody? This is Mr. Starts with a Vision, and I'm not going to waste your time at all today, because today's episode is insane. Today's episode is crazy. Today's episode is fire, and I don't want to waste your time at all. Today's guest is Rochelle Washington, and Rochelle is a graphic designer, but not only that, she works with you on your brand level, your brand identity, and basically what she is she's someone who says, hey, we can work together on your brand, and we can make your brand to the point where if somebody sees your logo or a video and you're not in it, they know it's you and your brand, because that's how dope you are and that's how creative you come off in the marketplace and in the industry. This interview is completely off the cusp. Okay, so if you're not ready for, the uniqueness of this episode, then definitely don't listen to it. But this episode is beyond amazing. It is beyond dope. And, Rochelle's message is, how to be you and how to be authentically you and how to just be dope as hell in a world where not a lot of people are dope and not a lot of people are themselves. So you can learn a tremendous amount of information and knowledge from this episode and from Rochelle. So here goes the show. I'm not going to hold you up for too much longer. What's going on, everybody? You already know it's Isaiah Fowler, a.k.a. Mr. SWAV, Mr. Starts with the Vision, in the building or on the microphone. And I'm going to give you guys a pre-warning. This interview right here, not an interview, but this episode is probably going to be one of the most interesting and highest downloaded episodes in the history of the Starts with a Vision podcast. And not because this is like a super celebrity or, anything like that, but because of what this person stands for. And so I really want you guys to not only listen to this episode, but I want you guys to embody what this person and what this message stands for, right? So today's episode, we have Rochelle Washington on the line, on the podcast, however you want to say it. And she is a graphic designer, but I don't want to put her in the box, and I don't want her to correct me either, because she may be like, I'm not just a graphic designer, right? But today is Rochelle Washington. We're going to talk about how to really be dope as fuck, like at the end of the day. So Rochelle, how are you doing today?
I'm great. Thank you so much for having me on. I
appreciate you as well. I appreciate your time, because I know it's all limited, and I know you got stuff going on and you got money to be making.
Indeed.
What you say? You got to get these coins, right?
Got to get my coin.
Right. That's the woman's favorite word nowadays.
Yes.
And then yes. It's coins and yes. Like, that's the woman's favorite word.
Yeah, those are our favorite colloquialisms. That's how we get down right now.
Right. That's how y'all communicate.
The vernacular.
Right. That's how y'all communicate nowadays. I think it's pretty funny. But let everybody know who you are in your words, because I don't think that an intro can do you any justice. I don't think a bio, I don't even know if you have a bio, because of who you are and what you stand for and what you believe in. So, from your words, who are you and what do you do?
So, first of all, hi, everybody. I'm Rochelle Washington, and I own Rose Red, etc., and that is a full-service branding and design firm. But I call myself the creative catalyst because I help people infuse creativity into both their personal and their professional lives. And I do that through graphic design. I do that through styling. I do that through crafting. And I do that through writing. And that comes up to my book, I'm Dope as Fuck, How a Black Sheep Earned Her Polka Dots. And that book will be dropping January 2nd. Shameless plug. So, yes, I am the creative catalyst. I think that's the best way to sum it up.
Okay. The creative catalyst. So when you say the creative catalyst, and you say you help people with their business and personal life, right?
Yes.
So that's already something interesting that sticks out to me, because a lot of times as entrepreneurs, we're helping people with their business life, but not their personal life, right? So in
Right.
what ways are you, helping people and working people even in their personal life as a, branding expert, a graphic designer, or, whatever title that it may be on?
Well, a few of the ways are just helping shift perspective, right? Because when somebody comes to you and they're saying, here's my business, my baby, right? And I like to tell people business ain't bae, but even though we look at it that way, it's not. But let's just say you come to me and you're like, hey, my brand needs help. I need to give it an identity so that people know that it belongs in the right industry and that people are gravitated towards it, my target audience, my ideal client. I help them shift their perspective on what it means to be in business, especially those of us that are online entrepreneurs with these personal brand identities that are directly attached to who we are as people. I help you shift your perspective. So the information that I give you for your brand, you can take that same information and parlay that into your life. You don't have to dress and look a certain way. You don't have to ride on a bicycle, throwing glitter in the air, holding balloons, doing the run of the mill generic shit that you see the rest of these entrepreneurs doing. I give you permission to be your complete and total self, emphatically. And that means not giving a fuck what other people's opinions are. And I think sometimes you just need somebody to say, hey, it's okay. And so, but I mean, there's some literal iterations of, helping people personally. So I definitely take a look at the wardrobe. I can definitely give you some great vegan and vegetarian recipes, help you with the crafting with the kids and that kind of thing. But I mean, more directly as it pertains to my business, Rose Red, et cetera, it's just helping shift perspective.
Perspective. I think that's the biggest thing. And what I've learned is a lot of times people have coaches and, all these different coaches and life coach and stuff like that. But what I've learned is, because I used to be like, why would somebody pay somebody 10, 15, whatever, $1,000? But it's all about the perspective, because that coach, may say one thing and it may be something you already know, but the way that they said it is going to shift your whole mind, and it's going to help you make $50,000, but you paid them 15. So that 15 was, a good investment.
Exactly.
So that's the power of perspective in itself. And so, why do you think that people care what other people think about them so much? Like, do you think it's natural, or do you think like people subconsciously care about what they think,
I think it's indoctrination. I think that we go to school and we're put in classrooms with our peers, and immediately competition is set up. That energy is fostered at a very young age. And so you put yourself at the mercy of your peers. You put yourself at the mercy of your siblings. You put yourself at the mercy of your teachers. And those of us that have already been indoctrinated into that kind of comparison mindset, we thrust that upon the next generation, right? And we even say, like, don't worry about what such and such thinks about you. You might not even be thinking about that. So we need to start, I think, helping people see the merit in self-appreciation, self-love. It's nothing wrong. Like you and I were talking about before we started the podcast, this whole concept of humble. I think that, you can humble yourself to death. You can humble yourself into the poorhouse. And we're indoctrinated into this meek, mild, humble mindset, when in reality, it's okay to look at yourself in the mirror and pop your collar and say, I'm dope as fuck. I'm fresh as fuck. I'm smart as fuck. I'm witty. I'm funny. I'm capable. I'm competent. But we teach each other to push that down. And so then we get into this whole mindset that's really detrimental.
So you said something, and we were talking about it very in the beginning, but let's dissect this. You said you could humble, and this is perspective, because I said it before, but you said it a completely different way. So you can humble yourself into the poorhouse. What does that even mean?
Okay, so let's just say it's you and your competitor, right? Now, your competitor is ostentatious, extroverted, and outgoing. So they're going to talk about what they do with vigor, with zest. They're going to believe in what they do. Those kinds of people are convincing. You know who isn't convincing? Well, I just do this thing, and, it's just a little something, and da-da-da-da-da. We don't feel like that person is confident.
Right.
They may be very confident, but they think it's a sin to praise themselves openly. But the people who praise themselves openly are the ones who reap the rewards. Look at our athletes and entertainers.
Right.
Part of these draw for some of these NFL and NBA players is the celebration when they make the goal or the score.
Right.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
We value the people with that kind of a personality. And so you can humble yourself into the poorhouse because people won't believe that you're good at what you do unless you show them with your words and your actions.
So you said that, and you mentioned the celebrities and the all stars and the sports stars and stuff. When I think about humbleness, the opposite that you most of the time think about or it comes to your mind is arrogance, right? And so when I think about arrogance, the first person who comes to my mind is Kanye, right? And so how do you feel about Kanye? Because I think that just from what you're saying right now, I think that it would be very interesting to see how your take on Kanye and his confidence and his, way of approaching, his life.
I think that Kanye is a genius. Mm-hmm. He said he was a genius. I believe he's a genius. Uh-huh. It's not that his ideas are so revolutionary. It's the fact that he's having them at the time at which he's having them, which makes them revolutionary. But let's just talk about the personality attributes.
Right.
You know how you and I both love music. Uh-huh. You know how hard it is to get your music out there. Uh-huh. What's the difference between us and Kanye? The fact that he didn't care about going up to a Jay-Z. The fact that he didn't care about going up to a Dame Dash. Those are people who we look at as gods in their industry, right? But Kanye had the confidence in Kanye to say, I know my shit's dope. I know it's revolutionary. Let me tell you something. I'm about to throw something out here. When's the last time you listened to an album a Jay-Z album that Kanye wasn't involved in and was like, oh, this is the bomb. Like this 444, I'm here for it. But Kanye wasn't involved and I can hear the difference.
Right.
So he believes in himself. His arrogance and confidence is a byproduct of just self-confidence and self-assuredness. Uh-huh. And Kanye's, he may have his mom died. It messes up his mind. Okay. Yeah. But apart from that, Kanye's the shit. Right.
Absolutely. No, I believe it. And especially with his most recent album, I think that was a huge, like bounce back per se from the album before. I think that the most recent one was like the Life of Pablo. Like, I think that album was dope as hell.
So dope.
And I think it was a great bounce back from Yeezus. And I'm so happy that he did bounce back from that one. Because it wasn't super popular. But that's him testing things. Yes. And that's him saying, I have this idea, let me try it. And that goes back to not caring about what people think. Because truth be told, people still love that album. So your dopeness is going to it's going to resonate with people and it's not going to resonate with other people. So it's just so crazy. But that whole being humble thing, I really wanted you to expound upon that. And so my next question is, how did you even grow up to the point that made you even believe this, right? Like, how did you grow up? Like, did you grow up just like a regular kid and something clicked in your mind was like, yo, nah, I'm about to be dope as fuck when I get older. You know what I mean? Like, how did this whole person form? Because I know it wasn't overnight. I know things have happened to help, formulate this person and mold this person.
So I would say that growing up, I grew up in DeKalb County here in Atlanta, Georgia. And at that time, it was a predominantly white county.
Really?
And so there was a program called Minority to Majority. So which meant that minority students would be bused to majority white schools. Uh-huh. Right. And my mother loved this because when you think white, let's just be honest, you think better, not better as in they're better than us, but better facilities, better education, better quality of education. Right. So I always went to these predominantly white schools and I am an amalgamation of those experiences. So when I was younger, I think my peers made me feel like my dopeness wasn't dope, right? Because you start feeling inadequate when this girl who's got this African last name and this dark skin and she's singing the house down and she's sculpting art and she's a straight A student. Those kind of people are intimidating, right? Mm-hmm. So it was hard for me navigating those waters. And I think it's hard. I think everybody has some sort of elementary, high school experience. And so I always knew I was dope, but I had my mother who was like, listen, you need to go to school. You need to pick a major where you can make some money. Being a singer and an artist is not going to get you any money. Mm-hmm. So you need to go to school and be a teacher. And so that's what I did. but I was in a band and I dabbled here and I dabbled there. But I'm going to tell you, this girl that you've met now, this woman, was not formed until 2014 when I got up off the operating table. I had a double mastectomy. I had my ovaries removed. And that same year, my mother died of breast cancer. And the reason why I had the mastectomy and had the ovaries removed is because my mom told me she had breast cancer. So I took the test to find out if I had the genetic mutation, because my grandmother and great grandmother also had breast and ovarian cancer. Turns out I did have the gene. The statistics they present you with are staggering. It was an eventuality. This was not something that would probably happen. This was something that was definitely going to happen. And so I made the prophylactic decision to remove the breast and the ovaries, because the ovaries feed the breast cancer, the estrogen that the ovaries produce, right? Damn. So I had all this done. Then I lost my mom. And, I just woke up and I said, I don't want to be in this life where I'm so consumed with other people's opinions of me. I'm so consumed with doing the right thing. I want to do the Rochelle thing. And so that, even though I'm the creative catalyst creating change in other people's lives, that was the change. That was the catalyst for my change in my life. Just being confronted with my mortality. So all that stuff that I had been hiding and holding back, I just unleashed. I just opened up the dam and let the waters flood.
So you would say that the reason why you're who you are today is literally what you just said, being confronted with not even the possibility, but saying that I know that I'm gonna die, based upon the what's happened to my mother and grandmother, and then you kind of just realize, like, something in your mind clicked, and you were like, I'm just about to be me. Yeah,
because we don't have infinite number of days in order to get this right. Our time is finite. It is not infinite. And so when you think about it in that way, social media doesn't mean shit.
Right.
Your boss's opinion of you doesn't mean shit. You don't have to spend time being somebody who you don't want to be. If you choose to do that, be very cognizant of the fact that it is your choice to be mediocre. It is your choice to ignore that which is in you that is amazing and compelling and something that people would celebrate and enjoy. You're choosing to push that down. And I had to confront that with myself as well. I left my cushy corporate job of 10 years to pursue this.
Right.
So you have to give up something in order to be dope. But what you give up is minuscule compared to what you gain.
Right. So what do you think that what can you honestly say that you gave up? Did you give up the job, or like something deeper than a job? Because we all have to give up a job to live this life. So,
right.
Like, what did you give up, like, mentally? Like, what was like the biggest thing that was okay with your life, or you were comfortable with, or something that was a sacrifice looking back in order to be who you are today?
I sacrificed my friendships because they're different now. And this is not to say that my friends aren't here for me and that we don't have a great relationship, but I stopped seeking validation from my friendships. And that was a very big part of my life, because I grew up for 14 years as an only child. So friends and their opinions of me was such an important deal, right? So I gave up trying to seek their approval. Another big thing that I gave up was my relationship with victimhood.
Ooh, talk about that. Elaborate.
When you lose your mom and your breast and ovaries in 1 year, everybody around you is hypersensitive to the fact that you are in ultimate, because I'm grieving physical loss and I'm grieving my mother.
Right.
And it's okay to be a victim then. Everybody wrapped you in this cocoon of victimhood, and you can cry as much as you want and eat as much as you want and slack off as much as you want. Nobody's challenging you because they know that you've gone through this traumatic experience. But what that victimhood does is it cripples you, because it becomes an excuse to be mediocre. It became an excuse to eat myself to almost 300 pounds. It became an excuse to just go to my job and be an office manager in perpetuity. I'm just going to show up. I'm going to retire from this job. They love me. I love them. It's in the middle of the city. I can walk around the city. I can, it was golden handcuffs. So victimhood gives you permission to be mediocre. And I decided to let go of that comfortability of being a victim, because the people around me would have allowed me to do it as long as I wanted to because they love me. But, I had to make that decision to let that go.
Right. You said, look, man, I don't even know what to think right now. You said it was golden handcuffs.
Yes.
What the hell? See, I need you to break this down for everybody listening right now. What does golden handcuffs mean? Because this right here, I know what it means. This is deep right here. Talk about these golden handcuffs.
So, golden handcuffs. When you think about being handcuffed, you think about being restricted. You can't move how you want to. If you want to scratch your nose, you couldn't do it unless you were a contortionist and you could flip your arms around to the front of your body. Right. And the golden part is that they're beautiful, right? They're worth a lot, but they're still restrictive. So I had a job where I was very close with my superiors. I made a nice salary. I had great benefits. I worked in the middle of the city of Atlanta, which is beautiful. I love my city. Mm-hmm. I had a lot of perks. There was a lot of, peripheral things that come with the corporate structure. You have tickets to this and thus and, the parties and the lunch and learns and all that. And so it was very comfortable. And it was certainly somebody's dream come true, but it was restrictive. It put me in a box. I mean, my wardrobe had to be a certain kind of way. My hair and makeup had to be a certain kind of way. I had to show up at a certain time. I wasn't that productive for the first part of the day. That's not my most productive time. So while I had a lot of benefits, it was still very confining. And it not only confined me physically, but it confined me mentally because I couldn't even expand something as simple as my clothes. I couldn't change my clothes because I had to show up somewhere every day looking a certain kind of way. I had to change the way in which I spoke. I had to change the politics part of things. And I had to change the way I dealt with people, and it just was very confining. And so positive in a way of, gold, but confining in the way of handcuffs.
Right. See, that's deep right there. And I hope everybody got that. And so I have the question for you right now. In this pursuit of, this creative pursuit that you're on it's not a pursuit to be dope as fuck because you are dope as fuck, but your pursuit is really, getting this message out to the world. But because of that, what's the hardest thing to balance?
Ooh, that's a great question. I think the hardest thing for me to balance is my family. Because being dope as fuck is a selfish act. And I have to prioritize myself ahead of my family because if I'm not satisfied with being my truest, most potent self, then I'm going to underperform as a mother and a wife, right? So it's hard for me to balance not taking too much time for me and cultivating myself and developing myself and realize that I have to be accountable to this child and to my husband. So I think sometimes I get the balance off. Like yesterday, my son said, you're either working out or you're either making something in your studio or you're on your computer. When do you have time for me? And that was jarring because I endeavor to, be the best mother I can, but I'm not going to get the formula right every single time. And I'm not going to stop pursuing it, though, just because my husband and my son may feel like they're not getting enough time from me.
Man. So how do you do you just tell them to deal with it? Not in a rude way, but in a yo, this is my life and, who I am and what I stand for. I need you guys to be more understanding of that. Or is it you really try to, accommodate, dad and their wants and needs as well?
I think that what we do here in our household is that we're very honest with each other. We have very candid conversations. So for my son, who's 8, I say to him, Xbox is very important to you. So on the weekends, when mommy and daddy want to take you to festivals and, different cultural experiences, you'd rather spend your time playing Xbox because those things are important to you. So for me, my fitness and my art and my business are all very important to me. And my business is how I feed you. So that's kind of how I approach it with my son. Now, with my husband, I shared with you off air that my husband and I are in an open relationship, right? And we've been married for 11 years, been together since we were 20 years old. If you were to look at it, we're not swingers. People have all these misconceptions about open relationships. But in order to pursue, something with an additional person, you have to be outside the household. So my husband may be off, talking to somebody, or, my husband has a photography business. He may be out taking pictures. So I think we all pursue our dopeness is the answer to my question. So I don't need to sit them down and say, listen, mommy is, or your wife is, pursuing the things that are important to her, because I think we all do that. Mm-hmm. And I just use those as ways to illustrate to them how we all miss each other at times, but we all are still individuals.
Right.
So I think in that way, everything works out.
Right.
But I listen to them when they say they miss me, and I do, alter the schedule, because at the end of the day, I'm only doing all of this so I can enjoy them.
100%. And so you put that in perspective for him and, for myself as well. But so, as entrepreneurs, I think that there's this image of everybody who's an entrepreneur, we only see their business side, right? So a lot of times the people who are looking at entrepreneurs, influencers, whoever it is, they see business and that's it. So they get this image of like, this person is perfect, right? So, even if they're married, just because they're married doesn't mean like their marriage is perfect, right?
Exactly.
And so, you just saying I'm in an open relationship. My question is like, how do you handle that like as an entrepreneur? Because I think it's very, very interesting. Like, because nobody has ever told me that and just been open as hell. Like, yo, this is what it is. And I'm an entrepreneur. Because a lot of times with social media, we don't tell everybody everything. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
We just, like, if somebody was married, like, they say, I'm married, and it looks like this perfect marriage, but behind closed doors, it's all hell's broke loose.
It's a shit show.
Right.
Yeah.
So, how do you kind of, like, not balance that, but, like, how do you handle that and continuing to grow your brand as well?
If you are invested in Rochelle and the Rose Red, etc. brand, then that means you're invested in me. And I am not in the business of making you comfortable with your beliefs and the things that are going on in your life. You're viewing my life through your lens, but even the way you're viewing my life isn't my life. So either you're going to subscribe and join this tribe and join this movement, or you're not. I don't worry about trying to impress people, because guess what? Even Howard Stern has a community. Even Rush Limbaugh has a community. Everybody has a community. I'm not worried about what people are thinking about my marriage. Mm-hmm. There's nobody paying this mortgage but us. Right. And so the reason I share it, though, is because I think that people are too homogenous. Mm-hmm. We think that everything exists in one way, and it doesn't. Not only, let me drop another bomb, okay? Not only am I in an open marriage, but I'm a bisexual woman in a heterosexual open marriage. So that means I be checking for the girls. I'm seeing what the girls is talking about. I have a Tinder account. Right. Okay. But in my marriage, we have rules, we have parameters, and I show that because I want the people who interact with me to understand that my version of perfection is what I got going on. Right. And either you're going to respect it and embrace it, or you're not and you won't fuck with me. But either way, we good.
Right. Because it's a choice. You're making a choice to be invested in this brand or not.
Exactly.
And so if you're not, then that's cool. And if you are, then that's cool, like you said.
Exactly.
Man.
Embrace it and let it add to your life. I am not a religious person, but that doesn't mean that sometimes I don't take value away from a TD Jakes sermon.
Right. Absolutely. Nah, look, you don't even know, like, that's so, appreciated in terms of sharing that. And I know you share it like whenever, so you don't have no shame in it. But the fact that you're like, yo, because this podcast, people listen to it that you don't know. You may be walking down the street one day and somebody be like, oh, shoot, that's the girl I was listening to. And, you know what I mean? So the fact that you're just so comfortable with being open is like so amazing and appreciated, because the thing about it is, a lot of times people put on this facade. They put on this thing as if they're perfect, but you're saying I am perfect, but in my own way.
Yes.
And that's like, I'm so thankful for that. Like, I don't even think you understand, because people need to hear more things like this, because this frees them. You know what I mean?
Yes.
This frees them. And the fact that it frees them is so important. And that's what this is all about. That's what this whole message is about. You know what I mean? So like, I have another question for you. And pretty much like, were you 100% sure what you wanted to do prior to leaving your job?
Yeah, I was 100% sure. And so one thing that I really dislike is when people tell people, leave your job, become an entrepreneur, work for yourself. That everybody doesn't have the makings of an entrepreneur.
Right.
And this is a skill that I have honed and developed over the past 6 years. I was selling things. I had a business. I just didn't legitimize it with an LLC until last year. But I was still getting clients. I was taking my lumps. I was charging to, not enough money and then having to work very hard. And I had to invest in education and become better. And then my husband's a fiscal analyst. So that meant that I was not going to leave my job until the numbers were right. Right. He was not going to allow for that. And so that meant that I had to learn how to have an accounting of my, of what was coming in, what was going out, my overhead expenses and all these things. And so I knew what I wanted to do before I left my job. But I also had a structure, and I also had a plan before I left, because that's very, very important. And, part of being dope is having a plan. You can't just, everything has to be for something. You can't stand for nothing.
Right.
So you can't leave your job and just say, I'm sick of these fools and walk out. You need something to cling on to. And right now, if you have a job and you're in those golden handcuffs, or if they're regular handcuffs, right now is a prime opportunity for you to do some discovery, because that's what being dope is about, is discovering what's within you that fulfills you, and then you share that with the world. So now's the time to read. Now's the time to be listening to bomb-ass podcasts like this. Now's the time to be going to YouTube University, Skillshare, Udemy. Now is the time to invest in yourself and really hone the skills and the traits that you have within you that are dope, that make you unique and emphatically you.
Right. And also you shared something. Well, I just asked you a question before, but I think that this also makes you as Rochelle dope, and it's very interesting. Now you do graphic design and branding services, of course. Now for these graphics and stuff, did you go to school for that?
No, I went to school to become a teacher.
Right. Very interesting.
Because again, remember I told you my mom was like, hey, listen, you need to go to school. And you need to get a degree where you can make money as soon as you step off that stage. And then in the pursuit of that, I stopped school. You know how it goes. You stop, you start. And I started working for this job. And then the job was paying for the school. And then, and I just realized that this isn't what I want out of my life. So that was another hard thing, to look my husband in the eye after $86,000 of student loan debt and tell him I'm not going to be a teacher.
Right.
And then I just decided, art has been my lifelong passion and I'm good at it. Why not try?
Right.
So I could have failed, but I refused to fail because I'm dope as fuck.
At the end of the day, that's what it boils down to, huh? And dope as fuck people don't fail, huh?
No, you don't fail. You keep revising. You keep editing.
You said reviving, right?
Yeah, you keep revising.
Oh, revising. Okay. So have you had to reinvent yourself along this journey?
I reinvent myself maybe once a month. I'm so serious. And what that means is I change my mindset. I change my possibilities. I open myself up to the uncomfortable so that I can grow, because nothing grows without agitation. And so I allow myself to be agitated. I expose myself to different people and different experiences. And from those things, I grow. Right. So I think I constantly reinvent myself. What was possible for me 6 months ago is nothing like my possibilities today. Right.
What is your importance of, or on a scale of 1 to 10, and you can talk about it as well. How important is progress, in your life, in your business, in your craft, and in your dopeness ultimately?
Well, I think progress is paramount. And the reason why is because that is your measuring stick. If you find yourself in the same predicament financially, in the same predicament physically and emotionally as you were last year this time, then you've not progressed. And something needs to be what? Revised. So progress is paramount in your growth as a person, and especially in your dopeness, because that is the measuring stick of whether you're truly walking in your dopeness. You know, and if you could if you need something more visual to tie this to, think about this. You should be changing your shoe size of dopeness every so many months. If you used to wear a size 6 in the 8th grade, you should be on about 25 right now.
Right.
You know, your sizes should keep going up because it's so much dopeness, you know, and so progress is paramount.
That's I've never heard that saying, honestly, and so I don't know if that's
I just made that up.
Okay. 'Cause it sounds so perfect because the P's, right? Progress and paramount, like
alliteration gets them every time. Yeah. Rose red.
Yeah, it sounds like that's something like Les Brown been saying for 30 years.
Yeah, yeah.
Like in
and
all
my
his
mom used to play Les Brown when I went to sleep. And I'll be like, oh, I'm so tired of these speeches. Like, but real? I get it now. I get it now.
Right. So that was subconsciously getting downloaded in your mind, huh?
Yes, it was.
Yeah. Nah, that's very interesting though. So progress is paramount. So what is the and also this is the other question, what does your brand encompass? Because yes, you do graphic design and branding, but I know there's other things that not only you do and other ambitions that you have.
So in terms of owning my business, it is a full service branding and design firm. So that does mean that I do brand identities, ebooks, book covers, book formatting, marketing collateral, and that means anything that you share with people at the touch point. So that could be digital, that could be in person, that could be a menu, or anything like that, websites. But then I go into fashion styling. I recently styled my client, Audrey Richmond, for the cover of her book. I also designed that book. The cover of that book. But I also offer, one-on-one strategy because a lot of times we need help unpacking things. And sometimes you just need another person who's a little bit more experienced to help you unpack your shit when it comes to your business.
Right.
I help people do that. I also help people with just aesthetic things, decorating a nursery. Decorating your living room, planning a meal for your in-laws for Thanksgiving. I mean, I've been hired for a myriad of things. But I think that the thread that runs across everything is creativity.
Right.
So like I tell people, I'm always for hire. You know how McDonald's and all these franchises, they always have a secret menu. There's whole videos about it. I have a secret menu too. So just when you think Rochelle can't make a wreath, I shall make it for you and make it the best wreath you ever seen.
I got something for that ass.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
I'm flexible. I'm flexible in my opportunities.
Now, do you, and that kind of is a good segue into just the whole niches thing. Everybody says, get a niche, do this, focus on this. How do you feel about niches and niching down?
I think that niching or niches are important for certain things. You can niche down and say, I'm going to write a self-help book for moms that have children under 5 years old, right? That's a great niche because now people can go directly to Amazon that have that need and really rock out in that category. But when you're talking about picking one thing that you do for life or for years, I think that's paralyzing. Because again, when we talk about progress being paramount, you need to be challenged in other areas. You need to be able to pivot. There was a player back in the day, a football and a baseball player named Bo Jackson. Okay. And Bo Jackson played two different sports. Deion Sanders played baseball and he played football. And what if he said, nah, I'm just going to play football for forever when he was great at baseball, So I think you need to be able to be flexible and be able to plant that back leg and pivot because that's where you're going to find the most lucrative and the most fulfilling opportunities. you and I met through a mastermind. I mean, we were in each other's periphery, but we met through a mastermind. I didn't know what you necessarily wanted to talk about today,
right.
but I was flexible.
Right.
And if I had said, well, we can only talk about one or two things because this is my niche, that would have made for a horrible interview and nobody would listen to this episode.
Right.
So I think niching can actually be dangerous and can actually make you lose money, just like being too humble can.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That could leave you in a poorhouse too. Exactly.
Strip you of your individuality and your uniqueness and rob the world of it as well.
Right. Yep. And so we was talking last week and you said something about your pricing sheet has an expiration date.
Yes.
Now, me personally, I think this is like the bomb.com idea. Like for reals. And so can you just talk about why you have an expiration date on your pricing?
Yeah, because guess what? I'm growing and my team is growing. And what my capabilities and possibilities were last quarter are not what they are this quarter. So I've decided that I need more money to compensate my team, or I've decided that I no longer want to offer a service or product that I offered last quarter. So I put an expiration date so that you are acutely aware that I need to, number one, jump on these prices right now because they may change. And number two, because my business is growing and fluctuating all the time, and I need to be able to adjust my pricing without having to be accountable to somebody who's going to try to haggle me and say, well, you said. I'm not Kroger. I'm not Publix, Walmart, Target. I don't have to honor my competitors' prices, and I don't have to honor the prices that I had last quarter. I am in control of my business, and I'm going to give you the best service I possibly can and the best business I possibly can, but I need to make it make sense for me. And so that means that I need to be able to fluctuate my pricing whenever I need to. And so that's why I have an expiration date.
Right. And you don't want people thinking that, you're going to be X price forever.
Exactly. I need to be able to grow with freedom. So if I give you that disclaimer, then there's nothing you can come back and say because I've already put you on notice that these prices may change.
Right. And they see that, and they know that. And when they come back and it's up, they're going to have to respect that and pay or not.
Or not.
Right.
And if they choose not to, I have no choice but to respect that. But again, that's not my target audience.
Right.
If they're not willing to value what I bring to the table as a designer and a creative, then we're just not suited for each other. And that's okay. Because I want the business from people who are excited about working with me.
Absolutely. 110%. And that's what it's about, is creating, or becoming a person that other people want and desire to work with.
Exactly.
Because desire is non-negotiable. Like if I have a service and you don't desire to work with me, like I can't be like, yo, please, like I can do this and you could pay. No, they're gonna be like, no, get out of here.
Exactly.
Right? Like you have to be that person, and people will come to you and say, take my money.
Yep. They'll be like, where can I give you, like, what kind of payment do you take? PayPal? Okay, sure, no problem.
Right.
Like,
without a question, without a doubt.
Yeah, because again, you're confident enough to stand up for your business and to stand up for your skill set and to demand what you want. And, it's a global economy and there's so many people and we can say yes or no.
Right.
And be okay with that. Like if you're on the receiving end, be okay with the fact that the entrepreneur is emphatic and very concise and direct about their offerings and how much they cost. But if you are the consumer, if you are the proprietor, be okay with, hey, listen, some people may not want to come back. Some people may not be, they may be turned off by how direct I am. Be okay with that and expect that, and then there won't be any issues.
Right.
You can do it with a clear conscience. I've not lost one night of sleep because somebody didn't want to work with me over my pricing.
Right.
I'm worried about the people that do want to work with me.
Right. Now, okay, so how do you feel about this? The people who say they want to work with you, and then, you tell them the price, and they say that, okay, cool, and then they kind of like leave it on the hook. Like, how do you handle those situations? I
don't. I'm just like, now some people say reach out to them and, outreach is your money is just sitting in the inbox and all that. It's like I am a very vigilant guardian of my time. So I'd rather not spend my time trying to convince somebody, because how many times have we gone to Amazon or our favorite online retailer and put some shoes or something in the inbox, in the grocery cart, the cart, and didn't buy it? I mean, we do that all the time.
Right.
So I can't be I think it means so much to certain entrepreneurs because we're out here trying to eat. Right. So if you ask me for an invoice and you don't pay it, now you frustrated me because I thought I had $1,500, right. And you didn't pay it. Right. I mean, that's annoying, but we do that to these big box brands all the time. We go in the store and say, y'all, I'm about to put this back on whatever shelf. I'm not going to buy this right now. Like, you don't see Walmart coming to you like, hey, listen, you didn't get that deluxe box of pancake mix. It is what it is. You just move forward and expect that as part of the landscape of entrepreneurship and freelancing.
Right.
That comes with the territory.
Right.
You can circle back, but I wouldn't say lose any sleep over it or sweat over it. Right. Let's focus on the active money. Where's the active money coming from?
So keep marketing outside of your business, and whatever happens inside, just keep it pushing.
Yes.
So, like at the store, Walmart, they got them to-go carts, go backs. I used to work at the Dollar Tree, so they call them go backs, right?
Yes, the go backs. You restock.
Right. So nobody gets it, but they got it, but they put it down. There's a cart. You put them back on the shelf, and you sell it over again.
There you go.
But you keep marketing outside of your business so that more people are coming in. And somebody's going to buy what somebody else put back, because one man's or woman's trash is another person's treasure.
There you go. You preaching today.
Yeah. Nah, I'm preaching only because you bringing it out of me. But nah, that's cool. So what's the vision moving forward for you and the brand and everything?
So for Rose Red, etc., the branding and design firm, I have literally started the process of turning it into a firm. I am no longer interested in being a solopreneur, because working by yourself, you can only do so much alone. And so I've started expanding my team. I've hired a couple of junior designers, and so I'm able to take on more work. And so I'll be expanding that. And the goal with that eventually is just to make that its own separate entity that functions on its own as a design firm. I want to be a creative director as opposed to in the trenches with the designers. And I do take a creative direction role, of course, but I really want to be able to step back. And so that's what I've started. I've started the process of building a full out firm. And then so for Rochelle Washington, the brand, I have the book, I'm Dope as Fuck, How a Black Sheep Earned Her Polka Dots. Mm-hmm. It's a memoir / self-empowerment how-to book, just how to harness and develop and cultivate and celebrate the dopeness within you. And so I tell stories from my life, from kindergarten all the way up to an adult. It's a short read, but I picked the most pivotal stories in my life where I earned my spots. I am kind of the black sheep of my family. My family's kind of Southern Baptist, very religious. Here I am like, I'm sorry, parents, but I'm not going to subscribe to religion. I'm sorry, I'm bisexual. In the book, I tell the story of how my mom caught me, eating the box for one of my slumber parties.
Oh, word.
And she made me go to Eddie Long. I grew up in New Birth. And I had to go to Eddie Long. And he talked to me about how, it was a sin, and, how I needed to repent, and how, I shouldn't masturbate, and I shouldn't, it was unladylike, and I need to save myself for Jesus and, and my husband, and I don't need to ruin that for them. And, so I tell all those stories because those stories are what made me dope. It's what made me realize, like, you know what, I am who I am. And it made me celebrate those things. So those are some of the stories I'm telling in the book. And from that book, I'm going to use that as a platform to, to do more speaking gigs, right. Talk to people about being dope, talk to people about not being afraid to talk about those uncomfortable moments in their life, and stop assigning them negative feelings. Start assigning them positive feelings, because if those experiences didn't happen, you wouldn't be who you are, right? So, and then from there, I'll just be showing, I'm starting my vlog on YouTube, showing the cooking and the crafting and the totality of Rochelle beyond the business part.
Right.
So yeah, just more good Rochelle stuff. Of course, I'm going to monetize it, but I feel like I'm showing people more of me, and I'll be cultivating more of a community, because the more you show, the more community that you develop and cultivate.
100%. So I have one more question really quick, because you said something, and I think it's very interesting. How did you feel when your mom went crazy when she found you eating the box?
Man, listen, my mom found me eating the box like all the time, So So it wasn't like new that I was eating the box. I think I just used to be like, damn, man, like I'm really into eating the box because I couldn't hear when the keys were in the door. I couldn't hear. But for the most part, I did feel bad because I knew that my mom, like, you know, like it hurt her. You know what I mean? Like, right. That's kind of hard. And I mean, this happened from a very young age. Like I know this is a whole nother podcast, but I never not liked girls and I never not liked guys, you know? So for me, like as far back as kindergarten, like I was just as into, you know, the girls as I was into the guys, you know? So, for me, I think I just always knew that was like a bad thing, you know, to my mom. And so I felt bad about that, but I never stopped eating the box. I have no plans on stopping eating the box, guys. Like I'm team eat the box for life. Just in case, like any of the ladies checking for me, like I'm Rochelle Washington on Tinder. Like, you know what I'm saying? I ain't paying for your date. Like we can go Dutch, but like, you know, if all goes well, like the box may be eaten. Like it's just like that may be like what goes down.
Yo, you be cracking me up. Yo, you funny. I'm glad you said that though, because I just think that entrepreneurship is what you make it, and so is life. And you know, people think that in order to grow this brand and make millions, you have to be a certain way, and you just don't. You know, look at rappers; they be doing all kind of crazy stuff, and they making millions. You know, so it's really about living the life that you want to live. And the people who really like you and rock with you, they gonna buy your stuff and support you and everything like that.
Yes.
So,
and if I could just add to that as like a closing comment, I would just say that we're multifaceted. You know, us as Black people, minorities, and then, you know, even beyond humans. Period. We're multifaceted, and nobody is one thing. And it's okay to show the many sides of you. And it's okay to lose some people and some things along the way. That's the sacrifice you make for being able to be truly yourself. And if that's all you have to sacrifice, that's small.
Right.
For being able to be the entrepreneur and the person that you truly want to be.
Right. Compared to what you're going to get.
Exactly.
Right. So where can people find you and find out more about you?
So you can find out about my business, Rose Red, etc. at RoseReddEtc.com. And I'm Rose Red, etc. on all my social media channels. So that's Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And you can find out about the book, I Am Dope as Fuck, at IamDopeAsFuck.com.
Got you. Well, I'm going to put all that in the show notes. And I want to say I appreciate you. And I appreciate your time, and I appreciate the honesty and the transparency and the laughs, too, because you made me laugh quite a few times.
Well, thank you so much for having me. This has been a joy. Thank you for allowing me to be myself and not censoring me. And I hope I'm invited back soon again.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, no censor on this podcast. It's about people being able to be who they are 100%. So with that being said, y'all, that's the episode, and we're going to holler at you on the next show. Hit Rochelle up. Let her know what it is, you know, what you liked about the episode and all that good stuff, because this was a very, very liberating episode, and it's all about being you at the end of the day with no apologies and not asking anybody, anything about who you are or what, any of that stuff. So that's the episode, and we're going to talk to you on the next show.
Thanks for listening to the Starts With a Vision podcast. Come get your vision clear at www.startswithavision.com. See you there.